Can y'all still hear through there?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hope that I don't break this thing. Good morning, y'all. I'm Travis Toombs. I'm the First Lieutenant Commander of the AP Hill Camp. I'm also the newsletter editor for the Virginia Division. I hope y'all saw your newsletter. I just put it out yesterday. Right on the cover is a picture of that. Because New Orleans took him down, but we honor him. And New Orleans took Lee down, and next weekend in Gettysburg, even though it's for the Virginia Monument, Robert E. Lee sitting on top of that horse, and we're going to honor him there too. We are the Southern people, and we have not forgot where we came from. On Monday, June 3rd, 1907, the Jefferson Davis Monument on Monument Avenue was dedicated, meaning today is the 110th anniversary of that dedication. This dedication was the grand finale of the 1907 United Confederate Veterans Reunion in Richmond, Virginia. The reunion was kicked off the previous Thursday, May 30th, 1907, with the dedication of the Jeb Stuart Monument. At the dedication of the Stuart Monument, there were 80,000 people present. But at the dedication of the Jefferson Davis Monument, exactly 110 years ago to this very day, were 120,000 people. And on top of that, you have to add in the other 50,000 that lined the streets for the parade that preceded the monument dedication, meaning there were over 170,000 people in Richmond, Virginia for the dedication of the Jefferson Davis Monument on Monument Avenue. Y'all just imagine that. That is more people than you will see at a NASCAR race. That is twice as many folks that attended the Super Bowl last year. All of these folks in attendance for that event heard the speech I'm about to tell y'all. The 1907 Governor of Virginia, Mr. Claude Swanson, was one of the speakers for the event. Imagine that, a Virginia governor speaking at a dedication for the monument to Jefferson Davis. We won't see that no more, I don't think. Governor Swanson was not a Confederate veteran. However, he had the lucky privilege, and I do call it a privilege, of being born in the Confederate States of America. He was born in 1862. He was not born in these United States. He was born in the Confederate States outside of Danville, Virginia. The governor, believe it or not, was not even the keynote speaker for the day. But I have read his speech, and I have read the keynote speaker's speech, and I think that his was the best. And according to the Times-Dispatch newspaper from the following day, which is where I got this speech from, the Confederate veterans in attendance for the monument dedication applauded more for the governor's speech than they did the orator for the day. And after I'm done, you might see why. Again, this is a speech from Governor of Virginia, Claude Swanson, at the dedication ceremony for the Jefferson Davis Monument on Monument Avenue. It is 110 years old today. When you leave, go take a look at it. It is being read, unedited, exactly like it was given. I will begin. It is my privilege and pleasure as Governor of Virginia to extend to all of you a cordial, warm, loving welcome, and to express on behalf of the people of this state their profound appreciation of the honor of having erected in Richmond this splendid monument to commemorate the Confederate cause and to give testimony to the abounding and abiding affection which the people of the South entertain for President Jefferson Davis. I wish to assure you that there is no state in the South where the memories of the war between the states, where the heroism and glory of the Confederate soldiers are more deeply cherished than in the state of Virginia. Woo! Your Confederate veterans now receive from Virginia as warm and generous a welcome as the one accorded them during the darkest hours of that great war, when you brave men from Texas to Maryland came to fight on her soil in a just and righteous cause. Your presence in this superb city, around which clusters a deathless fame due to your wonderful achievements, kindles anew in our hearts those ties of brotherly affection which cemented us and made us all one people during the trying hours and suffering of that great conflict. With quickened pulse and throbbing heart, Virginia salutes you, Confederate soldiers, with feelings of profound reverence and undying admiration. She directs me to convey to you her blessings and benedictions, and to tell you that there is no portion of her superb career in statehood in which she more glories, that in which she has more greater pride than the part extending from Bethel to Appomattox. No people in the history of the world ever suffered more or were inflicted with more dire calamities than the people of Virginia during the 4 years of terrific warfare within her borders. During this war was fought within this state 1,404 battles, actions, and combats of sufficient importance for mention in the official records of the Union and Confederate armies. Here, devastation, desolation, and ruin were experienced in the most oppressive and disastrous forms. Here, 4 long years was war around the very homes and firesides of the people. Here, where frail women and innocent children made to feel the terrors and sufferings of bloody and destructive warfare. Yet, all this distress fades and becomes overshadowed by the splendors of Confederate glory and achievements. There is scarcely a hilltop, village, or stream in Virginia that has not been made historical and famous by some deed of valor, military genius, or prowess displayed by the brave soldiers of the South. There is scarcely a family from Texas to Maryland which had not some spot in Virginia that its heart goes out in loving remembrance on account of some dear one whose heroic blood was sanctified or whose valor was crowned with imperishable renown. Virginia is proud to have been the stage upon which this heroic drama was enacted. Virginia is proud to share with her sister southern states that priceless heritage, sacrifice, valor, and courage displayed by the Confederate soldier and which furnished the brightest pages in the annals of warfare. You can rest assured that your generous partiality has placed this memorial of your devotion in a state that will cherish to the remotest of times the justice of your cause and the greatness of your achievements. From generation to generation, the sons and daughters of Virginia, with reverent hearts and loving hands, will bedeck with flowers the graves of our heroic dead, our soldier saints who sealed their devotion with their lives and who won death's royal purple in foeman's line. Sirs, Virginia would consider that I had poorly performed the part assigned me if I should fail on this occasion to convey to you her continuous conviction of the justice of our cause and her firm belief that the conduct of herself and her sister states in this conflict needs neither defense nor apology. In this war, the South contended for the sovereignty of states against federal aggression and power. She fought for the great principle of home rule against illegal interference. This great doctrine of home rule is the most precious of all rights possessed by mankind. For its maintenance, more armies have been marshaled, more battles fought, more blood sacrificed, more treasure expended than all other causes combined for which man ever contended. The recent action of the federal authorities in Washington in sustaining and aiding the secession of Panama from the Republic of Colombia in South America was a complete and thorough endorsement of the justice of the Southern secession movement. We are glad to receive in the course of time from this high source a thorough approval of the righteousness of our cause though it may come a little belated. Sirs, when the passions and prejudices of that late Civil War shall have subsided, when the glamour of immediate success shall have been dissipated, when the myths of falsehood and misrepresentation shall have disappeared, and an impartial history records her final judgment, out of this terrible conflict shall emerge a figure of heroic proportions, calm, serene, brave in defeat, firm in resolution, lofty in purpose, and from whose mangled hands each year will come an increasing glory, then to be imprinted forever with beauty and force. Upon the scrolls of time will appear Jefferson Davis, the faithful and fearless president of the Southern Confederacy. Few men ever possessed such vast power. Few men ever bore more greater burdens or responsibilities. In all of his public career, be it said, to his glory and greatness, no stain ever followed his footsteps, no selfishness ever soiled his public service. We shall never forget the noble women of the South. This magnificent memorial is a gift from the United Daughters of the Confederacy, whose loyalty to the Confederate cause is ardent and lasting. So says the governor. And whose splendid qualities and patriotism are sufficient to stimulate and make great and glorious any people. We can never forget how in the darkest hours of the war, the women of the South divested themselves of all comforts and nearly all necessities in life in order to feed and clothe the army. We shall never forget how the prosecution of that war, with generous profusion, they sacrificed father, husband, son, lover, all on the altar of their sacred cause. We shall never forget that during the darkest and most trying hours of this terrible conflict, their brave hearts never gave utterance to cry of distress or complaint, never counseled submission or surrender. During these years, Southern womanhood reached heights of sacrifice and courage which will live forever in story and in song. With such glorious women, men could not fail to be heroes. Sirs, soft, sweet, and sad as the memories of buried love will ever lie in our hearts, the lost cause, with its beautiful, brave women and its valiant and matchless soldiers. Sirs, each year makes more wonderful the achievements of the Confederate government and soldiers and adds additional luster to their fame. The records show that the federal government enlisted and had subjected to its control 4 times as many troops as the Confederates. These records disclose that the Confederacy killed, wounded, captured, and routed more federal soldiers than they possessed. This is amazing and cannot be surpassed by the military achievements of any people. History cannot furnish another instance than that of the Southern people, where armies almost destitute of war equipments won great victories from armies far larger, supplied with the latest and most efficient arms. With indomitable and amazing genius, the Confederate soldiers wrested from the enemy the very means and the very equipments for waging war. Sirs, I firmly believe that if the South had had access to the seas and could have disposed of her great cotton and tobacco crops and received in exchange arms, ammunition, and the various stores of war, she would have triumphed and won her independence. In modern civilization, with all its complexities of commerce, that nation must prevail finally, that is supreme on the seas. A nation with its ports blockaded practically wages war against the world. Heroic courage, brilliant victories, and great military genius may for a time delay, but the catastrophe must and will inevitably come. The shadows of Southern doom rose slowly but surely from the pitiless sea. Sirs, the brave and noble deeds of the Confederate soldiers, extending from the drummer boy to the great commander, Robert Edward Lee, constitute for the South her proudest and most precious heritage. We will teach our children's children to cherish the glory, the unsullied honor, the dauntless courage of the Confederate soldier. We propose that in every county and city of the South someday shall stand a granite or marble column to bear testimony to his heroism and glory. The surviving heroes of the Confederacy shall ever have our most tender, loving, and generous care. I think a flag disgraces the very sunshine in which it flaunts if it fails to provide for its brave and valiant defenders. Every Southern state should make ample and generous provisions for the needy Confederate soldiers, their widows, and orphans. We shall never forget the suffering and sacrifice of those 4 long years. The memory and association of these years shall unite forever into a brotherhood. The Southern states shall serve to stimulate us and make us cling to our beloved South and make us resolve with brave heart and strong arm to defend her from all trials and tribulations which may beset her in the future, and make us resolve that the glorious South shall once again attain her former splendor and power. We shall strive to give to the service of our reunited and common country the loyalty, the devotion, the patriotism, and the self-sacrifice that the Confederate soldier gave to the lost cause. This concludes the governor's speech. Thank you.